Hey there, it's Tessa. So, yeah, American accent, but I was British born and I've moved back and now I'm finding out all of the things that you might need to know. And I'm sharing them with you. So, one of those is, where do you live? Where are the best places to live? I know I used to be fascinated by the Times Best Places to Live edition that came out. Oh, I think it comes out every March. And that's actually how I picked the first place that I lived in here in England. But I want to give you my take on these places so that you can kind of get a dual perspective. The first one was Sherborne, Dorset. That was #1 on the Times list. And I actually, yeah, I would have to say it'd probably be #1 on my list as well. It's a very nice little town to live in. But there are more. So I'm here to share them with you today. And by the way, if you need a little help finding property, you're not sure where to get started, you can work with me. Find the link in the description below, or pick up my 6-month guide to living in the UK. That's a great place to get started. Speaking of getting started, let's go. Let's find out where those best places to live are. #2 on the Times list is the town of Cirencester, which is in the county of Gloucestershire, and it is considered the capital of the Cotswolds. It's a very pretty town. I haven't been there, but I've heard that it's very nice, and it definitely has a lovely town center with some very pretty historical buildings. It was home to the Romans when they invaded Britain, and in fact, it was the second largest capital next to London, so there's a lot of history there. But what could you buy for the average £300,000 budget here in the UK? Well, how about this 2-bedroom, 2-bath, brick detached property? It looks like it's been renovated nicely on the inside. Next up on the list is #3, Clevedon in Somerset. I'm a little puzzled by this one. It's a small town on the Bristol Channel coast just south of Bristol. It's quite a small town, but it's definitely a commuting town for the buzzy metro of Bristol. As I said, it's on the Bristol Channel, so you've got sea views, you've got a lovely historical pier that was built in 1869, along with restored Victorian bandstand and a bowling green right on the seafront. There is no train station. The nearest is 4 miles away. But what could you buy for around £300,000? Well, how about this 2-bedroom, 1-bath, top-floor flat in a historical building? Next up, we have the #4 choice of the Times, which is Dartmouth down in Devon. Now, it's got a small population, but it gets absolutely rammed in the summer. It's on the River Dart estuary at the mouth of the English Channel. Dartmouth was once home to the Royal Navy since the reign of Edward III and is now home to the Royal Naval College, where officers have been trained since 1863, including Prince Philip. There is no train station in Dartmouth, and it faces east, so because of its hilly situation, you don't get the afternoon sunshine, which can be a bit of a problem. The nearest station is in Totnes, which is a 30-minute drive, not too convenient. But what could you buy for that average £300,000? Well, not too much. How about this 2-bedroom, 1-bath, semi-restored cottage for $350,000. It's been on the market since May, though. Next up, we have the pretty maritime town of Falmouth down in Cornwall. Population of about 24,000. It's also at the mouth of the River Fal, facing the English Channel, and has a strong maritime history and thriving harbor. Falmouth is also a university town, which means it's kind of already a little bohemian, a little bit rough around the edges in places. It's got a lot of independent shops, a lot of pubs, restaurants that cater to the students. But Falmouth has 2 train stations, so that's a bonus. I went down there to take part in a day sail out of the harbor, and it was beautiful. But what could you buy for that budget? Well, what does £325,000 get you? Not much. How about this 1-bedroom, 1-bath converted flat in a historical building for £325,000? Next up, we have a little bit of a puzzle. The Times rated the Isle of Purbeck #6. Now, it's just basically a peninsula in South Dorset. It's well known for its natural wonders, such as Corfe Castle, Lulworth Cove, Durdle Door, and other well-known natural landmarks. but they're just small towns and villages and far from any public transportation. The largest towns, Wareham and Swanage, aren't that large. And Wareham is the nearest large train station. What will £330,000 buy you? Well, not too much. This one-bedroom, one-bath cottage is £330,000 in a small village on the Isle of Purbeck. This number 7 choice of the times also puzzled me. Tisbury is a pretty little village deep in the Wiltshire countryside. It's about 13 miles west of Salisbury with its beautiful cathedral. And it's also not far from the monument of Stonehenge, the very famous Stonehenge. There's an art center there, but it was very quiet when we visited on a Saturday afternoon. A lot of the shops close at 1 p.m., although Tisbury does have a train station with direct trains to Waterloo. What could your £350,000 budget buy you? How about this 3-bedroom, 2-bath duplex that looks like it's been modernized on the inside? Now I'm going to leap off the Times list and go to my own, and my recommendation is Bridport and West Bay down in Dorset, right on the coast of the English Channel. Bridport has a population of about 8,000. It is a market town with a history as a rope center. Flax and hemp were grown nearby, and ropes, nets, and canvases were shipped worldwide. It attracts market goers, antique hunters. It's not a posh town by any means. It's sort of the place where everybody in the countryside goes to do their shopping. It's got a bit of a hippie alternative vibe, so if that's what you're looking for, you will feel right at home there. Now, Bridport is just a mile and a half inland from the beaches, and West Bay is sort of its sister town that sits on the English Channel. You may recognize the scenic red cliffs from the series Broadchurch. This is me shooting as I walk up the cliffs out of the town of Bridport, showing you the English Channel. So fabulous views. It gets extremely crowded in the summertime, though, and any holiday period for that matter. So go for an ice cream cone, enjoy the harbor. It does have a nice sandy beach. But as I said, off-season is much nicer. And there's no train station in Bridport. The nearest is at Dorchester, which is 15 miles away. What would £350,000 buy you in Bridport? Well, this 3-bedroom, 1-bath terrace cottage looks like it's been on the market or it's been reduced as of July. So apparently they are overpricing it. Right next door is the little town of Burton Bradstock, right next to West Bay, and it's owned by the National Trust, the beaches, but there's a couple of lively cafes there, and you can go there and paddleboard and sup to your heart's content, which is really a nice lifestyle to have on the beach. But I've got more options. So is that it? No, I've got a couple other places I want you to take a look at, and they're both in the lovely, pretty county of Devon. One is Totnes and the other is Topsham. Both have a lot going for them. Both places I would probably consider living, but Topsham would be at the top of my list. But then I have maybe different criteria than you. It's very important for me to be by the sea. So let's start with Totnes. As I said, it's in Devon. It's sort of a self-contained town. It's sort of the market town for the surrounding area. It does have a train station with service to London, so that is really good. I think train stations bring a lot of vibrancy, a lot of life, and a lot of sort of outside influences, trade, marketing, whatever, culture that wouldn't be there otherwise. So that is a very big plus for Totnes. It's got a great high street. It's got a great vibe. Lots of independent shops. I would describe Totnes as probably having a little bit of a hippy-dippy or bohemian vibe, but there's nothing wrong with that. The first time I went there, I came off the train. I wasn't sure which direction to go to, and the first people I asked just happened to have been from California. So that kind of tells you something. Word has gotten out. It's on the mouth of the River Dart, which the River Dart goes all the way down to Dartmouth and out into the English Channel. So it's got a little bit of a riverside sort of scene going on there with some cafes and some flats and, you know, homes along the river. And you can even take a little boat down to Dartmouth. So that's kind of cool. I think Totnes is a really nice place to live. They've got a fabulous market every Friday, everything from plants to jewelry to textiles, you name it. And like I said, it really says a lot for a town that it can support a lot of nice independent shops. And it's even got its own little castle. So definitely check out Totnes if you are interested in a sort of a coastal vibe without actually being right on the coast. Or if you want to go back in time to perhaps, it kind of reminds me a little bit of sort of a San Luis Obispo, you know, back 20, 30, 40 years ago. Next on my list is Topsham. Now, Topsham would be probably my preferred spot of all of these places that I've talked about in the Southwest, but that's just me. I like being on the water, and Totnes sits right on the Exe estuary, and that river ends up going out to the English Channel as well. So Topsham is literally minutes away from the bigger city of Exeter, 10 minutes by train. It's got its own train station, and it is, you know, you've got all of that stuff on your doorstep. So you have big city amenities in Exeter, which has 2 train stations and connections onto London. It's also got a cathedral, it's got universities, it's got quite a mixed vibe of, you know, young and old. It's got a nice little sort of waterfront area in Exeter. And then you're in the village or the town of Topsham, which is quite small, but you know, you've got everything you need there. And if you need more, you can pop over to Exeter, or you can head down on the train to Exmouth and get out and take some bracing walks along the coastal walks of southwest England. So there you go. I think Topsham is a great viable choice. I think you always pay a little bit of a premium to be on the coast, but I would never get tired of these estuary views. They constantly change. There's always something to look at. And yeah, Topsham just has kind of a neat vibe. And I also like the little village of Limestone, which is just south of Topsham. So I think those are a couple other places you could look at. I think Bridport and Totnes kind of have a similar vibe. They're a little bit bohemian. I would choose probably Totnes over Bridport, because even though it's a little further away, it does have that train station, and I think that is super important. It gives you connections to the outside world in more ways than one. So if you've got any questions about any of these places, I'm more than happy to try to answer them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in, and I will see you pretty soon on the next video. Take care for now.